Are you tired of doing a bunch of things to lose weight and nothing has worked for you yet? Or even worse, it's worked, but now you're back to square one? Are you tired of counting macros, calories, points, etc., and you have yet to look and feel the way you have always dreamed of? In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why this has happened and how to fix it once and for all. Here are 3 reasons why most people fail to understand what it takes to make fitness and nutrition a sustainable, lifelong lifestyle. Number 1, we're going to talk about how rules don't change people. Number 2, we're going to speak about restricting yourself won't allow you to stay on this journey long term. Number 3, if you don't train your hunger cues, you will never be successful in this game of fitness and nutrition. My name is JT Tapias and I'm a professional fitness life coach, and I have spent my last 23 years trying to figure out and really decode the idea behind a sustainable lifestyle. I know you've probably heard this from many quote unquote gurus. Thankfully, I'm not one of those. I'm not a guru. I'm just someone who really from the beginning, I just had a heart for people that were yo-yo dieting and oftentimes just, going from one plan to the next, counting one macro, one calorie, one point here and there, and yet not being able to make any difference in their lifestyle. And I know how frustrating it can be. And so I want to touch on these 3 things that I mentioned, and then I want to give you a solution. But I want to start off with a message that really just, it speaks directly to what I'm saying here. And it's a message that came in this morning from one of my clients, and it says this: "Good morning, Coach JT. Thank you for checking in. It's been pretty amazing to reflect on this process and my mindset shift. I'm no longer eating or having a glass of wine to cope with stress, anxiety, happiness, etc. I recognize the depths of coping through this program. I no longer have the feeling that I deserve to treat myself after all of my clients or work. That was my way of justifying and taking care, quote unquote, of my body. I'm excited to continue this journey. I have a long way to go." She's lost 28 pounds so far, but she still has some more weight to lose. 28 pounds in 90 days, a lot of weight. She says, "We're just getting started. Thank you again for sticking with me. You have been an absolute blessing, and I hope that others will join this journey as well." I think what she's expressing here is what I often talk about and mention when it comes to the soulish realm. I think the soulish realm is that whole idea of your mind, your will, and your emotions. And so what is the mind? It's that processing system. This is how we process things. This is how we filter things. And oftentimes when we join these programs, keto, Atkins, South Beach, macro counting, calorie counting, any of these dynamics, we're just basically looking at rules, right? And so this is why, point number 1 was rules don't change people. Let me explain that really well. Imagine if someone comes to you with a problem, right? And maybe that particular problem is they're having a hard time behaving. And they say, I really want to behave, and I just happen to always be out of control. How do I fix this problem? And you just simply said, well, here is A, B, and C. Here's how you do it, right? Follow these rules and you'll never get in trouble again. How do you think that would work? I think we all would agree that wouldn't work, right? That person would go do that for a little bit and then default back to their normal settings, and sure enough, get in trouble once again. And so we know that rules don't change anyone. And this is exactly what all of these dynamics inside of nutrition are, just a set of rules that if you follow long enough, can yield some benefits, but ultimately most people default back to their normal settings because remember that soulish realm hasn't been addressed, right? And the soulish realm, the mind, the will, and the emotions have to be addressed in order for real change to happen. And so we know that rules don't change people. Number 2, we talked about restricting yourself won't work long term. Anything that you suppress will come out tenfold. I want you to remember that, right? Whatever you suppress will come out tenfold. So if you're white knuckling your way, disciplining yourself to count macros, which by the way, I don't want to just throw that strategy under the bus. I think it's efficient. I just don't think it's something that you can do for the rest of your life. Not even athletes count macros all the time, right? And so imagine if you were just basically trying to constantly restrict yourself through dynamics, or maybe keto, right? Or Atkins, right? Taking carbs out. How long are you going to take carbs out before you bring them back in and you default back to your normal settings? Maybe you lose 15, 20 pounds, but you gain that weight right back with a vengeance, right? And so we understand that restricting yourself is not a long-term plan. And number 3, we talked about training your hunger cues. We believe that most people don't train their hunger cues. That's the reason they fail. What do I mean by that? I mean that until you actually start to recognize the difference between physical hunger and emotional hunger, you won't make any changes. You won't understand. You'll just constantly be reactive to stress or anxiety or fear or excitement. Any of these up-down emotions are going to have you reach for food. So we have to train our hunger cues to understand when we're physically hungry versus emotionally hungry. These dynamics that I mentioned before, all of these programs don't train you how to train your hunger cues. And so that needs to happen. Hunger cues need to be trained. So all 3 of these situations most likely are the reason why you haven't been successful at this. So then the question is, what's the solution? How do we fix this, JT? Well, I believe that the first thing that needs to change is a combination of things. So in our phase 1, 2, and 3, we've incorporated all of these dynamics in a very stealth way. We're not telling our clients exactly what we're doing, but we're doing these things. And so for 6 to 8 weeks, what do? We abstain, because anything that you want to put into remission, right? Call it alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, or what we're speaking about here, food, needs to go into a time of abstinence. What happens in that time of abstinence? A lot of things happen. Let's talk about what happens initially. We reset our palate. We were constantly eating the salty things, the sugary things. We're constantly basically saturated with flavor. And so what we need to do basically is reset our palate, right? Reset how things taste. How do we do that? Well, we cut a lot of the salt and a lot of the sugar out because your brain recognizes flavor. It doesn't know any difference between sodium and sugar. It just recognizes flavor. And if that thing tastes good, it lights up your brain. Dopamine is secreted. And guess what? Boom, you are hooked again, right? So we neutralize some of those flavors so that when you come back, you won't like or need those things as much as you possibly like them or need them now. So that's important to understand. That whole dynamic of resetting your palate needs to happen if you're looking for a sustainable change. Number 2, we need to reset your brain's reward pathways. What in the world does that mean, JT? That simply means that there's a way that your brain interprets reward. Oftentimes, we go for the low-hanging fruit. What is the low-hanging fruit? Food. Food is the most accessible thing. It's the thing that if we want to de-stress with food, there's not a lot of stigma behind that. Because if you were to say, I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette, or I'm gonna do some drugs, or I'm gonna drink some alcohol, of course, that has a lot of stigma, or society has lots of stigmas behind those things. So that's not something that's easily accessible or acceptable, right? Food is. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of jokes around food, right? I don't have a six-pack, I have a keg, or this took me a long time to put together. Oh, I'm in shape, I'm in round shape. There's a lot of jokes around food because, once again, that is the acceptable joke. And so we need to change our process of resetting our palate, resetting our brain's reward pathways, and we do that through abstinence in the first 6 to 8 weeks. Some other things are happening. When we start to get away from these things, we start to recognize that we've had crutches, that we've been utilizing food as a way to fill our void, to empty, to fill that bucket, right? But we're filling that bucket with the wrong things. When we start to recognize that, and we have now a little bit of willpower involved because you've reset your palate and you reset your brain's reward pathways, then what actually happens then is now you have the clarity to think different. When you think different, you feel different. When you feel different, you act different. If those actions are good habits, you create a good character, and then all these things become very easy to incorporate. But until all of those things happen, my friend, you're going to be caught in this cycle of just trying to have rules or restrict yourself, or you're just going to satisfy your hunger cues every time you're emotionally hungry versus physically hungry. And so all these things need to happen. And so the reason you failed in other diets is simply because you haven't embraced the soulish realm, right? The mind, the will, the emotions. You got to train those things. And our process teaches that in a very, very stealth way, but in a very powerful way that can make this into a lifestyle for you. So my friend, I've said a lot of things here, but more importantly, I really hope that this has brought some clarity because one of the biggest challenges is when you have a challenge and you don't understand why that challenge is happening. And so if you've lost faith over nutrition, you think maybe this is not for me, I'm big bone, I was just born like this is how I'm going to be for the rest of my life. I'm here to say that there is hope, but we have to incorporate these steps sequentially. We have to do it under the supervision of a professional. And more importantly, we have to have hyper accountability. And if we do this progressively, my friend, on the other side, you will feel and look great, and you'll never struggle with food again. And you'll feel like a 1,000-pound gorilla came off your shoulders. You'll be able to enjoy food without being self-conscious and without having to restrict yourself, because let's face it, no one wants to do that. And food was meant to be enjoyed. So I want to teach you how to do that. So if you're interested, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about these things. I think these things can be very, very powerful, but at times, they just seem like this big idea that is very hard for people to land in. So I'd love to hear from you. More importantly, if you've heard something here that's resonated with you, put it into action, because if you've listened to this and you do nothing with it, then we've wasted our time, my friend, and none of us want to do that. My name is JT Tapias with the Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Plan. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you're going to love this one here. I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao, ciao.